the year 10,191, on the sandy planet of Arrakis, there is a war between the natives and the outsider force called the Harkonnens, who ravage their land to mine for a substance called the spice, making them the richest house in the universe, surpassing the Emperor in wealth. But one day, the Emperor suddenly orders the Harkonnens to leave the planet Arrakis. On the planet Caladan, Paul, the son of the Lord of House Atreides, wakes up from a strange dream and goes on to take breakfast with his mother Jessica, who tells him to prepare himself for the Emperor's herald arrival. The boy asks for a cup of water and is told to get it by using the voice. After a first failed attempt, Paul then concentrates and then speaks in a deep multi-layered voice, and the woman unwillingly gives him the cup. She explains that the skill belonged to a group called the Bene Gesserits. It takes a long time to learn. The woman then asks if he had any dreams, to which he lies, saying no. Paul has a strange addiction to learning about the planet Arrakis and its natives called the Fremen, known by their blue eyes caused by the exposure to the spice. The spice, which is used as a remedy by the natives, is seeked out for its uses in space navigations, making space-time travel possible using gigantic metallic tubes acting as wormholes, making it the most valuable substance in the universe. The spacecraft carrying the Emperor's herald arrives on Caladan. A big reception is put into place by the Duke Leto, Paul's father. The herald is accompanied by many members of the strongest institutions of the universe, including a sister of the Bene Gesserits who stares at Jessica. The Herald of Change speaks out the words of the Emperor, who orders the House Atreides to take control of planet Arrakis immediately. The Duke accepts and goes on to put his seal on the contract. Later that day, Paul meets with Duncan, his sword master and right arm of the Duke, also Paul's best friend. The man who will be heading to Arrakis for a mission is asked by Paul to take him along. Paul shares the fact that he was having dreams about Arrakis, and the Fremen says that he saw Duncan with them and tells him that he saw him dead. The man then says that it was only a dream and leaves. Paul asks his father to let him join Duncan on the mission, but the man refuses, saying he will go there soon anyway. The boy, who is only thinking about visible dangers on the planet, is told to watch out from political games, saying that the Emperor has given them Arrakis to fan a war between them and the Harkonnens, so the two will become weak. Leto says that their only hope is to make an alliance with the Fremen, which was Duncan's mission. Later, the boy is given a fighting lesson by Gurney, who replaces Duncan as his teacher. The boy is reminded of the danger of slow attacks that can penetrate the shield. The fight goes on until it ends in a draw. Paul is reminded of the gravity of their situation, saying that for 80 years, Arrakis belonged to the Harkonnens, telling the boy about their brutal nature. On Giedi Prime, planet of the House Harkonnen, Rabban arrives and meets with his uncle, Lord Baron Vladimir, and his right arm, Peter. He informs his uncle that all their ships have left Arrakis. The man burst into rage at the actions of the Emperor. Vladimir says that it was not a gift, but explains that Atreides' popularity was rising, inciting the jealousy of the Emperor, who seems to want them to do the dirty job for him and destroy House Atreides. A mysterious ship crosses the space gate and lands on Caladan. From it, a group of Bene Gesserit sisters walks out. Paul is woken up in the middle of the night by his mother and told to come along. It turns out that Jessica was a student of the Bene Gesserits, and the Reverend Mother and her teacher, who is also the truthsayer of the Emperor, had come to meet Paul to know more about his dreams. The boy wonders how she knows about his dreams and asks about the presence of Dr. Willington. The doctor checks his vital signs and whispers to him that the Bene Gesserit serve their secret agenda, asking him to be very careful. Jessica tells the doctor in sign language to not tell anyone, and after reminding the boy of his training, she takes him to the room where the mysterious woman awaits. The Reverend Mother uses the voice on him to bring him on his knees in front of her and makes him do a test. The boy has to put his hand in a box that contains pain and resist. If he gives up, she will kill him. The boy feels the waves of pain crushing his hand, but he is reminded of his mental training and successfully passes the test. The woman tells him that he has to control his emotions since he has inherited a great power from his mother Jessica. Jessica is called and Paul is asked about his dreams, and he tells the old woman about the girl he sees on the planet Arrakis. things. She asks him if they ever come true, and he says that sometime they do. The Reverend Mother leaves. She reprimands Jessica for giving birth to a male and trying to give birth to the Kwisatz Haderach, known as the One, saying she was lucky he didn't die. Jessica learned that the Bene Gesserits paved the path for her on the planet Arrakis before they went back on their ship and left. Paul, who overheard their conversation, asks about its meaning. The woman reveals that the grand plan of the Bene Gesserits for thousands of years was to do selective crossbreeding and bring to life a powerful mind able to cross space and time. The boy is sad that he was only a part of a big plan. House Atreides spaceships emerge from the ocean as they prepare to leave their homeland. Soon they pass through the space gate to reach Arrakis, where a crowd of locals awaits them. During the reception, the crowd starts cheering Lisan al-Gaib when seeing Paul. Later, his mother explains that was the name of their messiah. She says it must be the Bene Gesserits that spread the rumors. Inside the castle, Jessica is brought candidates for housekeeper. She chooses one and asks the others to leave, and then confronts the woman about the weapon she is concealing. The woman says that the weapon is meant as a gift. She brings out the Chris knife, made from the tooth of Shai Hulud, the giant desert worm that they worship. The woman cries in joy as she hands her the weapon, calling her the mother of Lisan al-Gaib. In his room, Paul learns about the giant sandworms and the sand walk to use in the desert to avoid them. The boy is suddenly attacked by an artificial insect called a hunter seeker that he manages to destroy. The assassin is found inside one of the walls. The Reverend Mother visits the Harkonnens and uses her voice on a creepy spider creature to talk alone with the Baron Vladimir. She tells the man that the Emperor will give him his support to get rid of the House Atreides, but it must be kept secret. She then tells him to not harm Jessica, who is a Bene Gesserit, and her son Paul. The Baron accepts, but after she is gone, he reveals that the Duke's son will definitely die on Arrakis. Later, Tufir reveals that the equipment that was sabotaged by the Harkonnens won't be able to make great profits. Leto asks to see the harvesting fields and asks that the Imperial Supervisor, the Judge of Change, to accompany them. Duncan, who is back from his mission, tells them that he was able to meet with the Fremen, saying that he lived in a big facility called the Sieges. The man reveals that there could be millions of Fremen on the planet. Leto meets with the leader of the Fremen, Stilgar. After saluting each other by spitting on the table, the man asks them to not disturb their life. After Leto gave him his word to not hunt them, the man turns to Paul, saying that he recognizes him before leaving. Later, Paul is shown some Fremen technology by Duncan, who seems to respect the Fremen a lot. Leto then meets with the judge of the change, Dr. Liet Kynes, who is an ecologist. The woman gave them steel suits, another Fremen technology that allows them to recycle their sweat into drinkable water and cool their body down. After checking Paul's suit, she is shocked how the boy wears it like a Fremen would, even if it was only his first time. They are then taken to the desert to check the harvesters. Soon they detect a giant sandworm approaching. Dr. Kynes alerts the harvester and the carrier is called to take it away, but one of the anchors fails. Leto decides to use their aircrafts to save the men on the harvester. The sandworm approaches as the men escape to safety. Paul, who oversees the operation, is affected by the spies and starts hearing voices calling him Kwisatz Haderach. The boy falls into a trance and Gurney helps him. The two run as the worm reaches their location. They manages to get on the ship just as the sandworm sucks down the big machine onto his mouth. Later, Leto complains to the doctor about the bad equipment, but she tells the man that she is only a watcher and asks him to look after his family. Paul is diagnosed to be sensitive to the spice effects. The boy tells his mother that it was not an allergic reaction, but he instead had a vision of him with a girl that stabbed him with a knife. The boy, who seems to have a vision of the future, tells his mother that he knows she is pregnant. Jessica is shocked since she herself just got the news. On Salusa Secundus, the special Imperial force called the Sadokar is getting ready to be sent to war. The commander says that the Harkonnen army outnumbers the Atreides and wonders why they need the help of the Sadokar. Peter explains that the Atreides forces are trained by Gurney and Duncan and are very fierce fighters. Back in the castle, Leto, who is having a bad feeling, asks Jessica to watch over Paul, not as a mother but as a Bene Gesserit. In the middle of the night, an attack begins. Leto, feeling something was wrong, walks out and is not able to call the security. He soon finds the housekeeper was stabbed. He too gets attacked and paralyzed by Dr. Willington, who turns out to be a traitor. The alert sounds off as Gurney sees the ships coming out of the space gate. Chaos breaks out as the attack on the fortress begins. Inside the castle, the Atreides are overpowered by the Harkonnens and the Sardaukar. Willington asks forgiveness from Leto, saying that the Harkonnen is torturing his wife, promising to help his son Paul. The man gives Leto a special tooth that he can use to breathe poison and kill the Baron Vladimir for him. Duncan finds his way through the castle and looks for Paul, but didn't find him. The boy and his mother were taken by the Harkonnens on a ship to be thrown into the desert for the sandworms. Jessica tells Paul by signs that one of the soldiers was deaf. Back in the fortress, Duncan tears through the Harkonnens that are scared of him and flies away with an aircraft while the fortress gets destroyed. In the aircraft, Paul tries to use the voice but fails and is about to be thrown out. Then tries again and succeeds in making the soldier remove the gag from Jessica's mouth. The woman immediately uses her voice to make him kill his friends. After landing into the desert, the two watch the fortress goes into flame. Paul later finds a message from Dr. Willington, who left them a beacon to call for help. In the castle, Leto wakes up in the reunion room, face to face with Baron Vladimir. Dr. Willington arrives and asks the Baron to put an end to his wife's suffering. The Baron reveals that he had killed her and goes on killing the doctor too. He then tells Leto that he had killed both his concubine Jessica and his son. Leto whispers something and the Baron approaches him after putting on his armor. Leto then breaks the tooth and breathes out the poisonous gas into the room. Paul then finds the seal of the House Atreides in the things left by Dr. Willington for them, which meant that his father was dead. The next day, Duncan meets with Dr. Kynes and learns that the Emperor was behind everything. In the big room, the Harkonnen tries to recover the corpses of their dead comrades and discovered that the Baron had survived. Paul, under the effect of the spies, begins to have visions and sees himself fighting alongside the Fremen as he predicts a war that spreads across the universe, saying that he was leading a holy war in the name of Atreides and his father. The boy, who is going mad, screams at his mother for making him a freak. After calming down, Paul puts on the Atreides ring, becoming the next Duke. The next day, they are found by Duncan. The man tells them that the Emperor was behind everything. Kynes, who is the judge of change, can't tell them anything, but decides to help them anyway. She takes them to an abandoned geoengineering station that was meant to turn the planet into paradise, but was abandoned after the discovery of spies. Later, Paul asks Kynes to testify against the Emperor, but she says that it will cause chaos between the big houses and the Emperor. Paul then asks for her help, as he is Lisan al-Gaib, telling the woman about things only she knows about, saying he saw her dreams. Soon, the Sardaukar force arrives in the station and a fight begins. Duncan locks Paul and the others inside and goes to fight alone and is mortally wounded. Kynes takes Paul and Jessica through a secret passage while the legendary soldier fights until his last breath. After revealing she was a Fremen herself, Kynes points the way to Jessica and Paul, then goes separate ways to warn the others. The woman uses a temper to call a sandworm to ride, but she was stabbed from the back and she is judged as a traitor to the Emperor. As they are about to finish her off, she knocks on the sand, drawing to them the sandworm that sucks everyone into his mouth. Paul flies the aircraft away from the station and is trapped inside a sandstorm. Rabban goes to see his uncle, who is undergoing a healing session, and tells him that after they enter the storm, Paul and Jessica will surely die. Vladimir is glad that it's over and tells Rabban to start selling their reserves of spies and also kill all the Fremen on the planet. Meanwhile, Paul manages to pilot the ship out of the storm. As it falls apart, they soon crash and escape to a rock formation to avoid the sandworms. The two of them put on their steel suits. Paul wants to find the Fremen and doesn't know they were watching them. Paul then has a vision and is told to follow a friend. Using the sand walk, the boy and his mother cross the desert, but soon had to start running after getting discovered by a sandworm. They manage to get to the rocks while the gigantic creature stares down at Paul before before being called by someone using a temper. Soon they are surrounded by a group of Fremen, led by Stilgar, who recognizes the boy and stops the other from killing him. And like Stilgar, the group don't believe he is Lisan al-Gaib and want to kill the two of them. A fight breaks out. Not knowing that Jessica was a Bene Gesserit, Stilgar is beaten by the woman, while Paul escapes and is ready to open fire on them. Stilgar offers peace and asks them to come along. Paul finds that he was closely sneaked on by Chani, the girl he always sees in his dream. Not accepting the choice of Stilgar, Jamis asks for a Namtal, a duel to death, and is faced by Paul. Before the fight, the boy has a vision where he sees how the man is going to kill him. The boy then is given a crysknife by Chani so that he dies with honor. The fight starts and Paul has an opening to the man's throat and asks him to yield, but is told that there was no yielding and one of them must die for it to end. Paul keeps holding his knife back every time and Stilgar thinks that he was toying with James, but Jessica explains that her son never killed anyone before. Paul then hears the voice asking him to let Kwisatz Haderach rise, and with a stab in the back, Paul mortally wounds James, who quickly dies. Paul is told he was a Fremen now and is asked to come with them to their siege. Jessica refuses and wants to get off the planet and head back to Caladan, but Paul refuses, saying he was always destined to come here. He and his mother then follow the Fremen to go live with them. And with that, we reach the end of the movie. Hope you liked today's pick. Leave a like and subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.